Hello, my name is Christian. I've made a little plugin for Obsidian called QuickAdd, and I'm very excited to show that to you today. So what is QuickAdd actually? Well, it's a plugin for quickly creating and adding nodes to your vault. This can be entirely new nodes or something that you want to take a node of into an existing node. And it has a lot of ways to do that, and that's what I'm here to show you today. So why should you even use QuickAdd? Well, it can help you augment your workflows, both your simple and advanced workflows. But let's take a simple workflow as an example here. You want to add something to your daily node, but you're in the middle of writing something else and you don't want to interrupt your flow by going into your daily node and back. You can use QuickAdd to add it to the daily node without ever leaving your node or moving your cursor. I'll be showing you how in this video. So let's just get started. The first thing I'll show you is how you can actually install QuickAdd. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go into your settings, then you will want to disable safe mode, and then you will want to click on browse, open this modal right here and enter in QuickAdd, and then you can click on the plugin, click on install, and you can enable it from here, and you'll find that it is enabled here. I have already installed a few other plugins and made a few files. This is just so we can get through this a bit faster and you don't have to watch me type everything in. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting and creating a little setup. I'm going to show you things by analogy. I'm going to show you some examples and I'm going to explain how things work along the way. So the first thing we're going to want to do here is, you'll see we have this daily notes folder. I've created this daily note template that we're going to be using. So maybe we want to capture something and we want to capture something after this line. That's where we're going to want to write if we did something that day. Maybe we bought some groceries, we did some task, and maybe we had some guests over, something like that. We want to note it down so we can go back to it in the future as relatively standard journal keeping or diary keeping, I suppose you could say. So what you're seeing right here is actually some format syntax. I'll explain how that works a bit later. But for now, you're just going to be seeing this template right here. So I'm going to be copying this line because I'm not sure that I will be able to remember it later. And let's just go in here into the settings and go into the QuickAdd settings down here. So what we're dealing with is a capture. And this capture is a capture to daily note. I'm going to add this choice and we are going to click on the settings. You will see there's a few buttons here. There's first the add command, which will add an Obsidian command, so we can do that. And if I go into the command palette, I can quick add and it will show right here and I can activate the capture. I will not be doing that right now. I will just want to go into the settings, but there's also a delete and a move around. There's not really much to move it between right now, so that doesn't make sense to do. So let's just go into the settings. What you're seeing here is the settings for the capture. I was asked how you can actually rename these choices, and you just click on the name. That's maybe not as clear as it could be. You can click on the name and you can rename it into something else. Maybe you want an emoji, and let's just pick Santa here and do that. That was the Windows emoji. You get that up by clicking Windows and dot, at least on my computer. I'm not sure how it works for Mac or maybe Linux, but I'm sure you can figure something out. So let's say we have this nice little capture to daily note, and we're going to want to capture to a note. The first thing it asks us to do is, well, which file do you want to capture to? And in our case, we want to capture, as you saw earlier, to this folder. We want to capture to some daily note, but we want the note to have the name that is corresponding to the day it represents. So in that case, we're going to be writing daily underscore notes, I think it was, and then a slash. This represents the folder. Then after that, we're going to be writing these two brackets, and then a date, and then maybe a colon, and then we are going to be writing, I believe it was dd /mm/ and yy to represent a date, and you will see that this date actually appears here. The 24th of the 7th month in a year, and then year 21. That's the date that I'm recording this, and it will change according to whichever moment you're writing something. So if you actually write HH for hours, and then for minutes, then you will see that I'm recording this very late in the evening. And you can also write S for seconds, which will update as you enter. And of course, when you activate the capture, this will be frozen. It will be the actual time that you activate the capture. So let's just keep it like this for now. And this is a fine daily notes format. And we write .md after because that is the file name. It is a markdown file after all. And we're going to be creating the file if it doesn't already exist. Because if you're trying to capture to a file that doesn't exist, well, that doesn't really make any sense. So we're going to be creating the file if it doesn't exist, and we're going to be creating it with the template I showed you a bit earlier. Clicking here, it will actually show you which templates I have in my templates folder. Click here and select the template, and it actually detects my templates based on my settings for Templater and the Core Templates plugin. So if you inside of Templater set that your folder is in this folder, the templates are in this folder, then it will actually look in that folder and prompt you to select from that one. And the very same thing counts for the Core Templates plugin, which I'm not sure I have enabled, but it works just as well. So we're going to go back into QuickAdd here, and you will see that we can also format what we enter as a task. This is the very basic markdown task formatting. Also write to the bottom of the file. We will not be doing that. We will be inserting after, which I'll show you how that works in a moment. You also append a link. This will append a link on your current cursor location, which means in the file you're in currently, linking to the file that you're capturing to. So maybe you're capturing to some file and you want to record that you captured something to that file. This will insert that link. And what we are here after is the insert after. This will insert the capture after the specified line, and this accepts format syntax. And this is what I showed you a bit earlier. This right here, that's format syntax. I'll show you all of the commands and where to find the reference for them a bit later in the video. So we're just going to be entering here, and this was why I copied the line before. See right here? This is the line that we're going to be inserting after. And this will just enter it after the line. So if we select this setting here, insert at end of section, then it would detect what, I personally believe it marks the section, which is either another header or the 3 dashes, this one right here, which seems to be a markdown line split, or page break, or I'm not really sure what to call it, but these 3 dashes. You can also create the line if it isn't found. You can do that at the top of the file or the bottom of the file. We will not be doing that because I'm pretty sure this file exists because we created it in the template. This line does exist. I also personally don't use these in my daily journals, but you could do that if you want. That's really up to you. It's just really the order that it'll appear in when you enter things. Now, right here, you'll see that there's the capture format, and we will be using this one because I enjoy having these in a line or bullet point format. I'm going to be writing a bullet point, and I also like to record at the time of day that I recorded this. So we're going to be writing very much the same that I showed you a bit earlier, where you have the hours and the minutes. You will see just the same, it will be appearing down here. And we can write actually something called value. This value right here, it will ask you to enter something. You could also just select some text and it will send that to that value. So if you have something selected, it will take that and put it where the value is right here. But this is generally what it will look like. This tries to preview what you've entered in the format syntax here. Just the same as here and just the same as up here. So let's try to see this in action. I will just go out of the settings again, close this down, and I will make sure that this folder is expanded. So when we click on the command palette, onto QuickAdd right here, and then capture to the daily note. It will ask me, well, what do you want to write? And I will just say that I am recording, because that's what I'm doing. And you will see that right here it actually created the file. And it entered, this is the specific time that I am recording. And you can do this for anywhere in any file. You also create the file. This concept kind of transfers. So I hope you got the general notion of what a capture can do. And the very next thing I want to show you is how templates work. You can see this template choices selected here. And we will be creating something with this template right here. It's a very simple template. I just wanted to keep it simple for now. But this template right here, it will actually just write this, and then I will also show you that it works with the templater plugin syntax. And that is the plugin you're seeing right here. This is templater. It works with everything that has to do with that. So you can just write the templater syntax freely and it will still work. So you can go into settings here, going back into the QuickAdd settings, and we will create note. And you can write whatever you want. This is maybe semantically not very meaningful, but create note is fine for now. We'll be creating this choice and we'll go into the settings here. Template path, we will just be selecting the one that I showed you before. You can also format this file name. You can decide however you want to format it. I will not choose to do it this time because I want to show you what happens if you don't click there. You can also actually create it in a folder. You can choose that, well, I want to actually select which folder it is out of all my folders when I'm creating the file. You could also say instead, well, I want to either create it in the root, or maybe I want to create it in the, maybe daily notes folder. And then it will ask you which one of these you want to place it in. If you only say it's in the root file, the folder here, you can also have another folder, it doesn't really matter. If there's only one here, it will not ask you, it will just put it in that folder. We will not be using this, it'll just create it in the root. And you can also append a link to the created file in the current file. We will not be doing that, it doesn't really matter. You could do that, it will append a link to the new file. You also increment the file name. You may know this from your own file system. If you create a file and it'll just name it untitled as per default, at least in Windows, I'm not really sure for other operating systems. It will create the file, call it untitled, and you create one more file, it will actually call it untitled1. And it's the same thing here, it will just create it and call it untitled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on which file name you give it. This is really to prevent duplicates and so on. You can also choose to open the file. We will be doing that, and you can open it in a new tab. We will not be doing that. You can choose if the tabs you have currently opened should be split vertically or horizontally. Again, that's really up to you, but you can do it. Just as a quick note, I actually, after opening this template, just realized that this is this right here that had it before is the wrong syntax. It is actually cb.file.title. I do not use templater as much as I used to, so I kind of forgot the syntax. But what you're going to want to do is you want to run QuickAdd and create a node. We'll be calling it new file just for fun, and then click enter. You'll see that this is a template and it is the new file. So you can see that this actually evaluated to what it's supposed to. So that's really how that works. I'm going to show you the multi-choice next. That is really just a folder. And maybe it's a bad name, maybe it's not, I'm not really sure. It's a multi-choice, and it is a multi-choice because you can have multiple choices within that choice. So that's really all there is. So let's just create one of those and call it, let's say, just a folder, and maybe pick a folder emoji for it, and then add the choice. We'll be dragging that to the top. I know that this can be a bit finicky to get the choices in here. You can see that it's jumping around a bit. That's because it's actually a very small margin to get it in there. I will have to fix that at some point. I have not done so yet. It hasn't really been a priority because it does work. And you can see that if I go back, run QuickAdd, and I click on the folder, it'll just show me the folder contents, I can go back, I can go in again, I can click the capture and write test, and you'll see that it still works just fine when I open the daily note. And this is actually another thing that I forgot to mention when I was creating the capture. You can go down here, you can write \n, and it will create a new line. So instead of this occurring, you will see that you can run it again and test again. It will create the new line, and it works like you would probably expect it to. And just the same, you can go back in here. Instead, if you don't want to write the \n, which can be kind of confusing, you can just write enter, and you can see that this works just the same. Go in here and again, test again, and it works just the same. Okay, and the last type of choice I want to show you is the macro choice. This one is going to be a bit more exciting and maybe a bit more advanced, so I will try to explain how it works the best I can. A macro choice represents some macro. So we will just write maybe add to Kanban, because that is what we are going to be doing. And add to Kanban board is what we're going to be doing, like so, adding it up here, minimizing the folder, and we will go to manage macros, because we're going to be creating a macro. And the very first macro I want to create here is add to Kanban board. It does not have to be named the same as the macro choice, but I like to do that because I can easily find it again then. But you can decide on your own, that's really up to you. So we're going to be adding this macro here. We can run this on the plugin load. That's really cool if you want to run something every time the plugin loads, which in most cases is just every time that Obsidian is started. So you can just do that, or you can just go into this configure right here. You will see that there's a lot of options, and maybe too many, maybe too little. That is in the eyes of the beholder. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a template choice, and this is actually a nested choice, or you also call it an anonymous choice, because it is not going to appear out here, and you cannot interact with it out here. It is just something specific to this one macro. And as you will see here, when we are back in here, we will have this template choice. So we will want to, so let me just explain what we're going to be doing. We're going to be adding something to this Kanban board. We are going to be able to select which one of these 4 lanes we're going to be adding something to. So let me show you how we can do that. But first, something about the Kanban plugin and how it works. So if you open this Kanban plugin board as Markdown, you will see that it actually just is a Markdown heading level 2 with the lane here. So, and this is the same for everything else, every other lane that you have. So if we open this as a board again, this is the lanes. You saw that in the Markdown. It's just a heading level 2. That's very important to take note of. But let's just move in here into the Add to Kanban board. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to want to have this here. And I'm not going to say what the board is just yet. You'll find out in just 2 seconds. So add to, it's create new item. That's the first thing. We will be creating this as a Kanban template. And let's just say we don't want to clog up any folders, files, and so on. So we will just be naming it date. This is a very normal way to do it as an ID. Just dd, yy, maybe something else. That's completely up to you. And then one out here. And then let's just say value title, like so. And close that. This is what is called a variable. This variable right here will actually ask you to enter a title, and this will be saved for the next choice that is in the macro sequence. I'll explain that in a moment. Just be aware of it for now. We will not be creating anything in the folder. That doesn't really matter for now. You should do that if you're maybe doing that. I prefer to do that. It's choice. So you can also append the link. No, we will not be doing that. We will not be doing this. nor will we be, actually, yeah, let's just open it for fun. We will do it as a split, and we will be copying this right here. We will be going back, and I like to add a delay. Doesn't really matter. Honestly, it really doesn't matter, but you can do it. Just before I move on and create the capture, let's just explain these. This one here, obsidian command, this adds an obsidian command. It's every single command that you have in your command palette. You can run that. So maybe you want to save the current file, add it, and that's what it says. Save the current file through the obsidian command, and that's really all there's to it. You can delete that. And the next thing here, editor commands, this will copy whatever you have selected. This will cut, paste, just the same, the selected line in the editor. This will select the active line, so that means the entire line. And this will select the link on the active line. It will go for the first link. It will ignore all other links, just to be aware of that. We will not be doing that. So we also have user scripts. I will show you how those work a bit later. That's a bit more advanced, and maybe it requires some skills in JavaScript, or at least someone to tell you what to do, and that will be me today. You can also add a choice if you want, something like maybe this. As the macro, this would be very recursive and very annoying, so don't do that. that would just maybe crash your Obsidian, or at least freeze it, so don't do that. You can add another choice, create the node, or maybe something else, but we will not be doing that either. We will be creating a capture. This capture will add item to board, like so. And we will actually just be selecting the Kanban board, and you could also make this use format syntax. I don't think you're going to be renaming your Kanban boards that much. If you do, you're going to have to change this, but if you don't, well, then you just keep it as is. And we will not be creating the file if it doesn't exist, because we know that it does exist. We will be creating the thing as a task. I will show you what it ends up looking like in the end. And we will not be writing to the bottom of the file. We will not be appending a link. We will be inserting after. Let me show you something a bit magical here. So if we actually write 2 hashtags or pound symbols, and then write value, and then a colon, if you remember from before, there were 4 lanes. I named them all something very boring. That is lane 1, lane 2, and lane 3, and lane 4. So we just go back and actually delete the spacing here, because that is not necessary. We will be, well, you could add to the end of the section. It doesn't matter. You could do it. This would add to the bottom of the lane beneath all other cards. You could, yeah, let's actually do that. Create the line if it's not found. No, we know that the line is actually found, so we will not be doing that. So capture format. Now, this is going to be, and this is also why I copied the format a bit earlier. You'll see that we're just going to be we just want to enter it here. You can see that this represents the exact same name as before, and we put some brackets outside of it. This is actually the name and the link to the file we create in this choice right here. So let's actually go ahead and try this out. So the way we're going to be doing that, and something else that you maybe have seen here, is that when we're doing the capturing, we actually selected the value tile again. But doesn't that ask me twice? But no, it actually doesn't. It doesn't ask you twice because values persist through every single item in the sequence. So every time you assign something to a variable, it can be reused. And another very important point is that it can also be reused in the scripts that you can add. And you can also set values from your scripts. That's just an important point. We'll get back to that a bit later. So just for now, let's just try to add something to the Kanban board. Before we can do that, we will click here, configure. We only have one macro right now, so we're just going to be selecting that, going back here, and we will be running QuickAdd and add to Kanban board. As you can see, it asked me for a title. And, well, we're going to be entering a title. Before I'm going to be doing that, I just want to make sure of one thing, so just hold on. So you can see right here, I made this little template. This looks very familiar to something we've seen before. And if I actually did remember correctly, I should not have written title. It should have been this value right here. So we're going to go back in here, oh, not right there, but in here and here. And instead of title, it will be item name. And the very same thing we will do in here, under here. And that will make it a bit more consistent. So let's just go back out and we will go back. And maybe you can see what this will be in a moment. When I add it here, item name, well, let's say a very fine plant. And the price, well, I don't really know. Let's say it's an expensive plant, 50 something currency. Link, I don't have a link right now. Let's just write test. This is, oh, I don't have a category for plants. Entertainment, maybe to some people, but let's just select other and we will be creating it somewhere in some lane. Which lane should I choose? Maybe lane 2 is fine. Just as a quick note, I actually realized that I forgot to put spacing right here. So that's just a little blunder on my part. Just write the spacing between to actually make it match the line that you wrote in your Kanban. But besides that, I will be deleting this file again that I mistakenly made. Go back here. You can see that I also make mistakes. So let's just run the quick add to board. You can see we write an item name, plant, and well, it's an expensive plant, so 50, and again, no link, test again, and well, this is, I don't really know what this is. Let's just say something else, and then lane 1. Then it appears here in the Kanban board. We can see we have it open here, and this could be a plant tracker wish list, something, I'm not sure. This is just a very basic way to add something to a board. You could also just use a capture. You could just select that you want to capture a simple line with no markdown. This is because of the semi-advanced feature in the Kanban board, which allows you to query for YAML front matter. That's what we've been doing here, name, price, link, and type, and you will see that this is in the front matter for this file. So when I enter in preview, it would actually not show anything right here. So this is a relatively, maybe semi-advanced way to add something to a Kanban board. A lot simpler way to do it is just to add to board, make a capture, and then just say, go in here, we will just select the board and say task, and nothing else really besides, say, adding it to lane 2, and then sure, and then here, do we need to do that? No, we actually do not need to do anything here. We could do it, we could not do it, that doesn't really matter. We add it, quick add, and add to board, right, test, it will add it to the lane 2. And that's how that works. So that's 3 pretty simple examples. Maybe this last one is a bit less simple, but that's 3 examples of how you can use QuickAdd to add something to your vault. I will show you how to install user scripts next. We will be looking at the Zettelizer that Eleanor uses, from what I can hear, quite frequently, and I will be showing you the QuickAdd API, and I'll be showing you Inline JS and how to use the API with that. So let's just move to that. Okay, so how do you actually install a user script into your QuickAdd? So this is just going to be something you're finding maybe on the QuickAdd repository. On this repository, I actually do have a lot of examples. Like I said a bit earlier, we will be taking a look at the Zettelizer. So let's open that. And this shows the video. You can get the JS file user script here. That's what we're actually looking for. And let's go in here. This is a JavaScript file. So there's actually a few ways to install the script. One way is to just click on raw and then copy everything in here, right click, copy, open a notepad document and just paste it like so. Let me just zoom out here and I will go to my vault in the save as. You will see that my vault, I have it actually open right here. This is my demo vault. And let's just go into scripts because that is where I want to place it. It's very important that you save as type and you select all files. And you can write something, maybe Zettelizer. I wrote that wrong. Yeah, that's fine. Set and then save. This is now a JavaScript document. And we can close the notepad, we're done with that. And you will see that it actually appeared in here in the scripts folder. So what QuickAdd does is it registers every single file with the .js extension. So if you're going to manage macros, click on just add macro, configure that, add your script, and Zettelizer. So the Zettelizer here will run as soon as we activate it, which is done through a macro choice. We will spell the name correctly this time. Add it here, drag it to the top, and we can run the Zettelizer. Something very important to note about the Zettelizer, and maybe I should just show you how you can change that. Let me open it with, Notepad again. You can see that I made this for Eleanor, so it is actually very specific to the setup in her vault. So right here, you will see that this is a folder that you may not have. So what you'll want to do is just write whichever folder you're going to want to save to. I want to save to Zettel, and I don't have that folder. I'll make it in just a moment. So, and again, this is very specific to her workflow. So I will show you what it does in a moment. I'll create a test file and show you how it actually works. Let's create the Zettel folder, create a new file, and this is a research paper or something. And then maybe some notes. I'm not really sure how those would be structured. This is the write test, and then we have a heading 3, which the script looks for on this line. You can see right here, if the heading is level 3, then we will do something. And there's a location ID, so let's just say page 34. We do not care about that, but we do want to add a new file in the Zettel folder, and we will be calling this something, maybe just this is a heading, and we can copy this line and paste it a few times, and maybe 3, 2, 1, because I'm not very creative right now. So just, if you run the Zettelizer on this right here, and let's just for the sake of having something at least different, doing this, we can run the Zettelizer. Run the Zettelizer and run the Zettelizer. And you will actually see something I forgot. And just what I said you should do before. You can just go ahead and click on the Zettelizer, select an actual macro for the macro choice. Otherwise, it will not work. I've been considering moving this a little bit, so it is actually managed in the manage macros instead of through this kind of proxy here. That's a bit technical, maybe for later, but that is just how that works. So let's just QuickAdd Zettelizer. You will see it made 3 files right here based on the names, and it only registers what's after the location, and it just adds a link to the heading. So if we open the file again, and which file was it? Actually, I can't remember. Research paper, that's right. And 1, 2, 3, you'll see that it actually I think it translutes. I'm not really sure what the word is actually, but this is what it does. This is the Zettelizer in a nutshell. There are variations of this script. I have made one for myself, and other people have also made one. You can really just pick and choose. On the Discord, I sometimes share, other people sometimes share how they use it, and then you can see that some people create whole new files where you just copy all the content here into a new file, just like I personally do. So that's something you should be aware of, that this is not the only Zettelizer, but it's just one way to do it. But this actually keeps your original file kind of clean, because it doesn't remove anything. It just adds links with the heading name still, so you can link to it, and it will just show what's actually under the heading here. Okay, and at this point, we're actually at where I want to show you the QuickAdd API. This is some more advanced features, so I don't expect everyone to be able to follow, and that is fine. But if you want to follow along, maybe some JavaScript knowledge would be a prerequisite. I will try to explain as best as I can how to use it, but it is something that is a bit more advanced, so we will take that as we get to it. Before that, I actually promised a bit earlier that I would show you how to find the format syntax reference. It is right here. You can see that you can use format syntax and a link to it here. This is all the format syntax there is. There's explanations next to them, so I will not be explaining them. You can just look at it right here. So the QuickAdd API, it's right here. This is the QuickAdd API. This is also the page where I will be adding additional features to as they come out. You will see that there are a few functions, just very basic utilities and maybe features that allow you to interact with QuickAdd and some of the things that I've made for QuickAdd. So the first thing is an input prompt, which opens the prompt that you saw a bit earlier. A yes/no prompt, that's just asking your yes/no. It's the very same one that actually appears when you maybe want to delete something. And likewise, we also have the suggester. You saw that when we were adding a board card to a lane in a Kanban board. And there's an example here that you can actually write it in this syntax. And that is, if you're unfamiliar with JavaScript, this is just a map function on this parameter here. Then we also have a checkbox prompt. I have that shown in an example in here, and you will see it in the fetch tasks from Todoist, and maybe it'll come in the video here, but it will be appearing at some point during this video. You will see how that works. The other thing here is the execute choice. And we can actually execute any choice with a given name, and you can pass variables to it. So if you have a template choice and you want to spawn a template with, let's just maybe say, these value names, you can write these values or variable names, and it will be filled into that choice. And likewise, all of these functions are actually async, so just await them. There's also the utility module. This will allow you to interact with your clipboard, which is what it does currently. I will probably be adding some features to interact with some kind of date and file system. Actually, probably the Obsidian file manager or something like that. I'm not sure yet because it's actually already available. Something you will notice is that if you go in and check out what the parameters sent to you when you open the QuickAdd API, this is something that I may not have documented as well. Actually, I did under macros, if I remember correctly. And down here somewhere, I think here, somewhere here, yeah, here it is. When you make a macro like this, you will be given access to these things. A reference to the app, the QuickAdd API, and variables. And that's really all there is to it. You also get access to the utility module, but that's in the QuickAdd API. So when you actually have these params here, you can see that I do some destructuring and maybe just drag out the input prompt here and I use it a bit later. So that's what's happening there. You can find the references here. I expect that if you know what you're doing, you probably don't need me to tell you what you're going to be doing with this. So that's why I'm being a bit brief and maybe a bit cryptic. But you can also actually do something that is, I will show you in this template right here. You can do something called Inline JS, which is going to be spawned when you write 6 backticks, you write JS space QuickAdd. And let's just, for fun, write something to the console with console.log. We will be writing hello world because that is a very standard example. And I will open the console. There's a lot of things here. So I'll just close that, close this, and when I execute, that's the switcher, execute QuickAdd, open the folder and create a note, and then give it a name. It will actually just expand everything in that template. Boom, and then you will see that it will execute this hello world. And if we go back again to the templated demo, you will see that if we console.log this, I have passed the QuickAdd API and the other references that you were given. Means we can actually console.log or this.QuickAdd API, and we can see what's inside the QuickAdd API. So let's just try doing that, and QuickAdd and then folder and create the node, and let's just write test1 here. And as you can see, hello world logged, and we have this log, and then we have the QuickAdd API log here as well. So that's how that works. You can execute whatever JavaScript. It is async by default, so you can write async JS in there if you want. There's not really much more to it, actually. If you know JavaScript, you can execute whatever. What you write in here will actually be written. So if you return some string, for example, you can say this was, let's just do markdown, this was my script, and then you again make a new note like so, and then you write test2. You can see that this executes and it writes this was my script. So you can write something dynamically. I use this to actually grab books from Readwise and put in all of my notes. You can find that example right here, and then you can see that this will expand in the template here. It runs the macro and Readwise and then insta-fetches the book. This is just a macro, not inline API. It didn't really matter. It runs the macro, goes into the Readwise. I use this concept of namespacing where you can access, if you have a macro here, this is a simple script. Instead of doing module.exports, you can export an object. And in this object, you can choose to export multiple functions or values. It doesn't really matter. So I could actually just say that I want to export maybe some value, which is going to be 100. And I can go ahead and select that value and it will just write 100. And so that's something you could do. You could use that for API keys. Something else you could do is you could also import, I'm coding in Notepad. I didn't really think I was going to be doing that today. You could import some module. Let's just do that to be explicit. Import module from, and then you can write something which is going to be the path to the module, like so. So you can also do that. You can use it down here. So maybe module.do something. Okay, so that's how that works. There's a lot of things you can do with scripts. You can ask me if there's something you want to do and you maybe don't know how to do it. You're free to ask me, but this is probably QuickAdd in a nutshell. Probably took like 30 minutes. So maybe there's a lot. If there's anything I did not cover in this video, I will be writing about it. So if there's some question that you feel that you asked me, but I didn't cover, I will. I'm already aware of those questions. I have written about them. And if I miss your question, please do just ask me in the comments. I will respond to you and I will try to do my very best to give you a satisfactory answer. I hope you enjoyed this very small demo of QuickAdd. I will gladly show how I use QuickAdd in my own vault. I have a lot of QuickAdd templates and use cases, but very many of those are similar to the ones I showed in this video. So I really hope you enjoy, and I really hope you could get some inspiration out of this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great day.